Facebook has finally brought back conversion campaigns that can run without a custom domain. This is great for artists like myself who just want to get their music out there, get fast results with their ads without going through all that mumbo jumbo of this custom domain tracking setup. As soon as I saw that conversion campaigns for shared domains are back, I put it to the test. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set it up and whether or not it beat custom domain tracking. Hey, it's John here, and in this video I want to share an experiment with you that I just completed and that I'm super excited about, and I can't wait to show you what the results were. What I tested here is the performance of conversion ads for Spotify music promotion that use a custom domain as opposed to a shared domain in your Facebook ads. In the beginning of 2021, Facebook ads limited conversion ads to advertisers who set up a custom domain with Facebook. And that process just sucks because it means you need to register a custom domain, you need to verify it, you need to link it to all these different places, you need to adjust your custom conversions, you need to prioritize web events. It's just a mountain of work and steps that you have to take in order to run conversion optimized ads with custom domains. And because it's so complex, it introduces a lot of room for error. There are so many things that can go wrong. So I was just pumped when I saw that Facebook brought back the opportunity to run campaigns without custom domains. And I'm talking about conversion campaigns. And let me show you this real quick because you'll see this in your ads manager as well. If you go to any of your ads right now that's set up in a conversion campaign and you scroll down to the settings within the ad, you have this tracking section here, and where it says web events, usually you may now have your domain tracking activated and your domain will show up, but Facebook also brought back pixel only tracking, something that existed in the past, but then they phased it out at the beginning of this year, but then they brought it back. And I was so excited that they brought it back because it makes advertising so much easier. The question, of course, being, how does it perform? And this is why I set up an experiment to answer that question. I do want to point out that Facebook tells us that if you use pixel-only tracking, your ads may not deliver to people who have opted out of tracking on iOS 14.5 or later devices. And I love how Facebook says may not. They are not telling us they will not, they may not, whatever that means. More so a reason to properly test this and make sure we know how best to run conversion ads to get the most results for our music on Spotify. So let me walk you through the experiment, how I set it up, and then the results that I've been seeing. And we start at the campaign level. First of all, I ran this experiment in a completely new ad account with a completely new pixel, a completely new custom domain, and completely new hype data, like everything new, completely blank slate. I want to make sure that none of the things I'm using in this campaign is something that's been previously trained by Facebook or Facebook already has some data to work with. In order to make this a valid experiment and a valid comparison between two different campaign settings, it had to be a blank slate. So what I did, I set up two campaigns that are identical, running traffic to a smart link on the custom domain. So if I go into this campaign right now and I show you the ad that's connected to this campaign, you'll see that it sends fans to a smart link on a custom domain. johngoldofficial.com is the domain that I registered for this experiment. But if I go to a campaign that is set up for the hyped domain, you can see that in the same spot, let me go here, that it sends fans to a smart link for the same song, but using a hyped domain. So a shared domain, basically. And the reason why I ran two pairs of campaigns is that whenever you launch a new campaign, there's a little bit of a randomness to it the way it will perform out of the gate. And the reason is that if you have an audience that you specify Facebook to target with your campaign, and that audience is hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people, Facebook can't go out to all of these people at the same time, right? Facebook will randomly select a pool of people within that larger audience where it starts to deliver your ad. So you may see different performance between two identical campaigns, not based on any differences in campaign settings, but just because Facebook randomly choose different pools of people within your target audience where it delivered your ads. So I want to reduce that randomness effect, and that's why I launched 2 campaigns per domain setting to make sure I can calculate averages that give me more accurate result on my findings. I also want to point out that I started all of these campaigns at the exact same time. I ended all of these campaigns at the exact same time. They ran at $5 a day, and I spent about $50 per campaign. So you can tell they ran for 10 days, which is a good amount of time to get a solid chunk of data. And last but not least, before I started to analyze the results, I waited 3 days. So I turned off the campaigns, and then I waited 3 days before I took a look at the results and run this analysis. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to make sure that there isn't any data that I'm missing that Facebook would report into these campaigns late. We know that under custom domain tracking, Facebook has told us some events, some conversions may be reported with some delay. And that's why I waited 3 days to make sure none of this would skew the results in either direction. Okay, now that you know about the methodology of this experiment, let's go to the results, because that's what it's all about. What I did for the results is I looked at the following metrics. I wanted to understand the cost per result that each of these campaigns generated and the engagement that each of these campaigns generated, because that's really how I want to measure success. You know that Facebook reports cost per results in Facebook Ads Manager, but these numbers here are usually a little bit off, and they're a little bit off because if fans interact with your smart link who use an ad blocker or any kind of privacy settings that suppress the Facebook pixel from sending what they're doing on your site over to Facebook, those events are missing in Facebook's calculation of the cost per result. So what I ultimately recommend you do if you want to understand the true cost per result of your campaigns is that you look at primary data. And primary data means cost data coming from Facebook Ads Manager, because that's where you're spending money, and click data coming from Hyped, because that's where your fans click on your smart link to then hop into Spotify. So this is exactly what I did. I used all the cost information that I got from Facebook ads here, and then you can see that in Hyped I created 4 smart links, again all identical in terms of the song that they're linking to, but representing the 4 different campaigns. You have 2 smart links here for the custom domain and 2 smart links here that were set up for the Hyped domain. And I should point out, once you link a custom domain to Hyped, you will have the smart link preview here on that custom domain. That's perfectly fine. That doesn't mean that you cannot send the traffic to the Hyped domain. I can show you this real quick. If I click on the smart link here, I can just replace the custom domain with Hyped, if I can type, and it still goes to the exact same smart link, right? That's how I ran this experiment. So they're just pointing to the Hyped domain. And then I brought all this information into a spreadsheet. So here you have all the Facebook campaign stats first. You have the cost, you have the number of link clicks that each of these campaigns generated, the number of results that Facebook saw and Facebook reported, and then the cost per result that Facebook reported internally. And again, I wanted to compute the averages here because that's really how I want to judge the performance of these different campaigns. And interestingly, once you average out the custom domain campaigns and the Hyped domain campaigns, you come to the exact same number, which is 37 cents per click. The real difference again is that it's so much easier to run a Hyped domain campaign. So the benefit is that you don't have to go through all the custom domain setup. So I would say this points to a slight advantage for the Hyped domain, because you can have a much easier campaign setup without sacrificing any performance from what this points out. But again, looking at primary data, we get an even better picture. If you go into Hyped, or this is what I did, I went into Hyped and I looked up all the click numbers, the click metrics that I got for each of these smart links, and I also populated this in here and calculated the true cost per result. This is the actual number of clicks that were received, and then divide this by the cost. You can see that the average cost per result on the custom domain was 31 cents, but for the Hyped domain it was 30. So slight advantage, not a huge advantage, but slight advantage for the Hyped domain campaign. And I also want to point out that the absolute lowest number of cost per result is this 28 cent number that was also a Hyped domain campaign. So combined again with the ease of setup of these campaigns, I'm really bullish again on running campaigns on the shared Hyped domain. But there is another aspect to it, which I said, which is the engagement, right? The quality of the ads and how fans engage with it. And let's take a look at that as well. So you see from an ad quality perspective, all of these ads, no matter whether they were in a custom domain campaign or a Hyped domain campaign, got an above average rating. So that's great, right? That means Facebook loved all these campaigns, or the fans loved all of these campaigns. No difference whether there was a Hyped domain involved or a custom domain involved. Now, from the post likes perspective, there was slightly more engagement or slightly more likes on the custom domain campaign. So you can see a total of 369 for the custom domain and a total of 349 for the Hyped domain. Is it a huge difference? No, it's not. It's a tiny difference, and that's why I want to point it out. Identical in the number of post shares, and then if you look in Hyped, you look at the engagement percentage on the smart links, you also see a slight engagement advantage for the custom domain at 31% and 34% over the Hyped domain campaign at 27% and again 27% here. So where does this leave us? What are the key takeaways? This is what I'm taking away from it. We know that Facebook loves the custom domain integration and is trying to push advertisers towards that. But clearly using pixel-only tracking here performs really well and actually slightly outperformed the custom domain campaign. So what's great news is that if you want to launch campaigns fast and you want to get results fast and you have not set up the whole custom domain thing in Facebook yet, you don't have to worry about it. You can launch campaigns out of the gate just using the Hyped domain and expect great results, identical results, maybe even slightly better results than if you were to set everything up with the custom domain first. So that's great news. And then what you can do over time is layer in the custom domain integration later. And that way you can test whether it gives you an engagement advantage for your music a little bit later down the road. But it's no longer a hurdle to get your Spotify campaign off the ground and to see results in Spotify. And if you are already running custom domain campaigns, then look, this could be an experiment to run. Just take one of your campaigns and switch all the ads to the Hyped domain and see what results you're getting. Obviously, you want to keep in mind that if you're comparing a new ad campaign to an ad campaign that's already been trained by Facebook Ads Manager, that might not be an apples to apples comparison, but it's well worth testing to see what results you're getting for your campaign and for your music in Spotify using the Hyped domain. And that's really it. Look, I will continue to monitor this over time, but for now I'm walking away pretty excited about this experiment and what I was able to find out about custom domain campaigns versus shared domain campaigns with smart links on the Hyped domain. And I hope you like this too. If you have any comments, if you run experiments like this and you want to share what you saw, just post it below. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I can't wait to see you back in the next one. If this is a topic you want to dive deeper on, if you're looking to master Facebook and Instagram ads to grow your streams, fans, and listeners on Spotify really, really fast, then I invite you to check out a link that I left below this video. It's a link to my Spotify Growth Engine training. In this training, I'm going to show you step by step how to launch an automatic growth machine for your music on Spotify. In fact, you can launch this in just 3 days. And that fast, you're going to see new fans, listeners, and streams come and check out your music on Spotify. I left the link right below this video here. It'll take you to the Spotify Growth Engine homepage that has a video where I explain everything that's included in this program. Plus, you'll be able to see lots of testimonials from other artists who joined the Spotify Growth Engine and got big results for their music on Spotify. So if that is something you want, just check out that link below, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.